Hi, my name is Dennis Graver with Affordable Furnace Repair, a subsidiary of AffordaPro. And I want to talk to you today about an overview of our furnace. And this will be important information as we try to troubleshoot a furnace in the event that you have a fault. So let's talk about some of the major components. We're going to start with the platinum. This is on top of our furnace. My furnace happens to have a water to air heat exchanger. This is going from my outdoor boiler. This is not typical. You're not going to see this on your furnace. Beneath that, more typical is my AC coil. Okay, if you have central air in your home, and the dead giveaway that you do is you'll see this line set come in here, and here's an A coil. That A coil, of course, it gets really cold, and we blow air across that cold A coil, which distributes our air out throughout our ductwork. And then I want to talk to you about our return air. Here's our return air. Its job, of course, is to take all the air throughout the home, through our ductwork, bring it down through here, down through this ductwork here, and into this section, which goes into my blower area of my furnace. And behind this cover, in all your furnaces, you're going to find a furnace filter in this area. It's important that the furnace filters are clean. This one has a little bit of debris, but it's not too bad. It wouldn't hurt to knock some of that out of there. But you want to make sure that your furnace filter is put in appropriately. Most furnace filters do have arrows, like this one does, airflow. And what do you know? It was in backwards. So you want to make sure he's in that way. The direction, especially on this one, isn't that god-awful critical, but it might as well put it in the right way. Now what we want to do, identify some of the other major components. This here, you can see over here is my PVC piping. If your furnace has PVC piping like this one does, we know that right away that you are a high efficiency furnace. So that's a dead giveaway that I'm a high efficiency. If you're an 80% efficient furnace, normally you'll see in this area, you'll see some ductwork coming out that gets very hot. That's where your ventilation is, where all your flue gases come out, and your carbon monoxide. But in my case, I've got two PVC pipes here. One supplies air to my combustion chamber. The other one takes it away from my heat exchanger. Okay, here's my gas line. You can see the gas shut off. It comes down and into my furnace. So let's take this cover off. This cover, any furnace, you can get into this cover without any problems. There's no safety switches or anything behind it. Unlike this cover, once this cover is opened up, you're going to kill power because there's always a safety switch. I always take that safety switch off and have done so on this one, so I can open this up without killing power to it. Let's talk about some of the major components here. This is what we call the induced draft motor, and his job is to take all of those flue gases out of my heat exchanger. He's going to take them up, he's going to pump them up and out the house. So that's how we get rid of the flue gases, any uncombusted gas, any carbon monoxide. That's all taken out here. Here's my gas valve. As you can see, my gas comes in here, goes to the input side of my valve. There's several things that have to happen. We'll talk about that in later sessions. Basically, your thermostat, as long as all the safeties and everything is happy, it'll turn your gas valve on, allowing gas flow up through here, which is called your manifold. And then there's several orifices that take that gas, mix it with air, goes across my hot surface igniter, we get ignition. Once it ignites, we're blowing a nice flame into our heat exchanger. And your heat exchanger, we can't see that, that's behind here, but those are long tubes that run throughout your furnace. That's what we introduce all the heat, and we heat those tubes up. So a heat exchanger is very important. And then underneath here, again, I've got my safety switch taped off. This is my blower. So the blower motor, because I have a forced air furnace, an upright furnace, so I'm taking the air from my return air duct, taking it and blowing it up against my heat exchanger, making that air nice and hot, taking it up and out. So let's talk about the order of the operation. The first thing that happens is, of course, we get 120 volts that comes in here. Here's my power switch. it comes into my transformer. This transformer's job is to convert that 120 down to 24 volts. We take that 24 volts and we take it up to our thermostat on the red wire. And there's an R labeled here. That goes up to your thermostat. Then we have several wires that come back from your thermostat. When we're talking about heating, we're talking about the white wire. Right now we can see that we've got power on that white wire. We've got 24 volts coming back down on the white wire, which has initiated the starting process. You see, the very first thing that happens is my induced draft motor will run. This will run, it'll vary, somewhere between 15 seconds and a minute and a half. What happens once he runs and the associated vacuum switch is satisfied, it'll close up. If it closes up, it knows that my induced draft motor is doing its job, pulling all those flue gases up and out. The next part of the process, and we can see it, is my hot surface igniter actually, it doesn't light, but it glows. And it works similar to like a toaster oven. So it'll come on, it'll glow. Once that's on for about 7 to 10 seconds, the gas valve opens up, allows the gas to flow across that hot surface igniter. Now we've got flame. Now I'm putting flame into my heat exchanger. So I'm getting those heat exchangers heated up nice and hot. Once they heat up, mine is actually controlled via a timer actually built into the control board. Some of the older furnaces had fan switches. So they would actually monitor the temperature of the heat exchanger. Once it reached a certain temp, then it would turn our blower on. The newer ones are all done by time. So once that time expires, which it just did, you can hear this blower kicked on. Now that my heat exchanger is nice and hot, I'm pulling air in across, taking it up across my heat exchanger, up and out. So that's the basic operation. Some other things to note. There is a flame detection sensor that's up in my combustion chamber. It takes that flame and makes sure that, it takes and makes sure that there is actually a flame. If there wasn't a flame, it would shut your gas valve down. So that flame detection sensor is very critical. If we were to see your burner ignite for a few seconds and then shut off, we would suspect our flame detection sensor. But for the most part, that's a good general overview. We're going to do some more videos, and we're going to talk specifically about certain components of this in more detail. But this should at least give us a good overview of what's going on. My furnace and most of the new furnaces also have diagnostic codes here on the LEDs. It's important, if you haven't taken off your safety switch like I have, that we look through our hole here and find out what those LEDs are doing. They'll go a long ways in telling us what's going on with our furnace. So now that I've given you a good overview, hopefully this will help you diagnose your furnace, at least speak intelligently to a service technician, myself. At any rate, hopefully this will help you get your furnace going. If you still have problems, please feel free to call me, 269-919-2158. Thanks for watching.